What are the numbers?
Yeah, so we have moved 24 times in 17 years to 4 different countries and lived on 3 continents. So
Now, actually, that's not the right number. We've been married 21 years.
now we have, but we moved into the house earlier than that, goofball.
Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry.
We lived here for 4 years.
Did I sleep through something?
De la forma que tú besas, mami, más simétrica que un origami.
Hi, welcome to the House of Valentina. I'm Valentina and my husband Jack is hanging out with me today because we are doing your most requested video, like, of all time. This is the one that we get the most requests for.
The one where I dance?
No.
Shirtless?
Not that one.
No. God. I thought today was the day.
Thank God, no.
So what are we doing?
Today we are talking about our backstory. Did we actually move 24 times? Have we actually lived in 4 different countries on 3 continents with 3 kids?
There's been a lot of speculation over the years.
There has been.
A lot of
And
you guys have said, oh, were you like spies or something?
I wish. That'd
James
be so
Bond,
cool.
Bond girl?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. No, nothing to do with the story.
Nothing that cool.
So-
no. So now that we've burst their bubble, no one's gonna want to watch
I know,
now.
they're like, dang
You
it.
gave it away at the
I
beginning.
thought this whole time they were spies.
You weren't supposed to tell them that now. We were
Oh,
gonna hold on to
at
that.
the end.
The story is that we're not nearly as cool as you thought we were. No, we did, but we have actually lived in 24 different places. We have actually lived in all these different countries, and yes, we've traveled all over the world with our kids. So let's back up before we get so far ahead of ourselves and actually tell them how we
Do
got
we
here.
get to do the cool little swiggy things,
Yeah.
like we're going back in time? Back in time?
I'm not that good at editing. Just swipe over into the past when I was born. 40 years ago.
Oh my God. 40 years ago. That was a good year. I was playing baseball.
1979. I just slipped into the 70s.
Remember when I used to babysit you?
That's not true. That's not part of the
No,
story.
no. The thing that people think sometimes is that we were like raised by ambassadors or we were raised overseas or any of these things. Neither one of us were. Like,
No.
neither one of our lives were raised abroad, even though we lived a big chunk of our lives abroad.
Yeah.
But what happened with you at 4? Because something, you always tell me this story and I love it.
Yeah, this family come to visit, and I'm gonna date myself with this part where we talk about the film projector.
Slide projector?
Slide projector where they're, yeah, totally.
Oh.
And it was their pictures. They were living in Vietnam, and they had come for a visit, and I was sitting in this little desk, and I remember the air must have kicked on because I could feel wind in my hair, and I just remember thinking, that's what I want to do with the rest of my life. I want to live overseas and I want to help people like that. They were doing some sort of water project. I don't know, I was 4, I don't know what they were doing. But what I do know is that it left a lasting impression on me. And I knew from the time I was 4 that I wanted to move overseas. And actually later on in my life, my dad actually became an international pilot, and that just made things even worse because I already knew I wanted to live overseas, and then all of a sudden dad's like bringing home these cool things, and I can actually show you. He brings home things like this, Hungarian crystal,
That's so
and he
cool.
pulls them out of his bag, and I'm like, it's all wrapped in like this cool paper, and it looks different, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? And then he'd bring home pineapple, like literally cases. He had just flown from Hawaii and it's like dripping down her arms. I'm gonna put this down before I break it. And I was obsessed. I was the kid that wasn't into boy bands, didn't have posters of, Backstreet Boys, New Kids on the Block on my wall. Oh no, I asked for subscriptions to National Geographic as a kid and all the books, and I would tear out those sheets and paste them up on my wall. I just knew this is what I wanted to do.
Unlike her, who at 4 had this big moment and read National Geographic when she was 6, I didn't do any of that stuff. I didn't even know those things existed. So I literally just lived life, and don't tell my kids this, but if they're watching, go do something else.
Yes, please.
Please. I actually failed Spanish 101. Why am I talking quietly? Spanish 101 and geography. I failed geography. I couldn't tell you where a single country was because I didn't think it was important, because I thought, I'm never gonna go abroad. Why do I need to know these things? So I kind of lived my life the complete opposite of you, in that I was completely just like oblivious to the rest of the world until I saw this project that I could go on when I was 21, and then I went on it when I was 22, and it was the first time I'd ever been on a plane. It was the first time I'd ever left the southeast part of the United States.
Wow.
And suddenly I find myself in Romania doing a camp, doing this like student camp thing, and it was like, my entire world was blown, and then I was addicted. I came home and I subscribed to National Geographic, and I bought a gigantic world map and put it up over my surfing posters that I still had up because I was still trying to be 18. And that's when my story changed. And then fast forward just a few years, you and I meet.
Yeah, and he's 8 years older than me, and a lot of people will ask that as well. So
I look young for my age.
And I look old.
Act young for my age is more like it.
Yeah. So when we met, the moment that I saw Jack. Sorry, I can't tell the story without getting emotional. I can't tell whether to be happy. Depends on the day.
Yeah. Sometimes
I'm like, that day.
That day.
No, I remember the moment that I met him, I looked at him and I was like, I just knew I was going to spend the rest of my life with him. Most day that's isn't a good thing.
That's the day she was sentenced.
We just knew from the time I was only 16 when that happened, and he's 8 years older than me, so we weren't immediately together or anything.
No, it took a few years.
We were
Don't
friends.
call anybody.
No, we were friends. And then we just realized that we had this passion, that we both shared the desire to live overseas, and we just knew that we were meant to
It was
be
just
together.
part of who we were, and it was just over a few years. And actually, the crazy thing is, a few years later, she wasn't 16 anymore, but a few years later, we went on a trip together,
Yeah.
had our first kiss
Yeah.
in France. You know what they say.
We didn't do it the French.
It wasn't a French kiss. It was a good old American kiss.
Yeah.
But it was like that, and we were just like, we were in love because we both shared the same value. We both shared this passion for adventure and travel, and we could geek out on the same stuff. We had our matching passports.
I was very young. I started college when I was 16. I studied international affairs. My trajectory was diplomacy. This is the kind of degree that you get. That's what the degree is for. I imagined that I'd be living overseas, and so I had started that before we knew each other. I'd gone on a lot of trips myself. And my parents let me go at 17 years old to the African bush. Now, I didn't go alone. I went with a group that was going to help people. But what were they thinking? I mean, I was out there with wild animals.
Don't let our kids walk up to the local Publix.
I know. So that's what I did. We were just maybe oblivious, I think, just a little bit. We were just, like, we just went. We just did these things. We just decided to do them, and we just did them. I've always been the type that I just want to live my life to the fullest. I want to live it to the last drop. So for me, when I decided that we were supposed to be together the rest of our lives, I didn't see any reason why I was going to wait. So we got married when I was 19, and you know, when I have a 19-year-old now. What were my parents thinking?
Are they insane?
I don't know. I've asked
I'm
my
good
mom.
looking, but not that good looking.
I've asked my mom more recently, and she's like, "We just knew that you were gonna do whatever you wanted," and I'm
Yeah,
like,
you don't mess with this one.
"Fair enough."
The whole world knows that. No, we did. We got together. We had Haley when we were 21, and then when you were 21, and then we just went.
Yeah.
And
We wanted to help people. We wanted to make a difference. We thought we could save the world, and so we just packed up, took a baby with us, and moved to Spain and lived there for 3 years. And there were parts of it that were just absolutely amazing. This is the part of the backstory we can't tell you everything in one day. We've lived a lot in these years, and we're just gonna sort of gloss over like most of it. Because we don't want to bore you. Maybe we'll save it for the memoirs. I don't know. But maybe one day if you guys have interest, we can tell you more of these crazy things that we did. But we arrived in that country, and we thought we were gonna have like people that we were gonna be with, and we ended up being pretty much alone and raising a baby in another country, and we had to figure out everything on our own, like everything from how to pay a bill to how to grocery shop, and it was crazy. So at the end of that 3 years, we decided this was insane. What we're thinking.
Yeah, we're like, forget this. Like, we chose wrong. Let's go back to the U.S.
Yeah, so we moved back to the U.S. at the end of that 3 years, bought a house, did everything that you're supposed to do for the American dream, and about 6 months into it, hated it. And we just decided it just was not for us. It wasn't what we wanted. We wanted to go back overseas and do nonprofit work again. We didn't know how or where or what was going to happen. We just knew that we both still had that desire.
And then bingo, another surprise.
Yes, he was
Parker.
a little bit more planned. We weren't completely stupid. Not that much planned.
No.
You'll notice that trend
Too many
in
details.
the story.
He wasn't prevented. But
So anyways,
more of a passion project.
One more little, stop it. One more baby on the hip, and we sold everything we owned
Again.
and moved overseas with the intention of never coming back. And I really mean that. I really mean that. We never thought we were coming back at that point. This was a forever decision. Maybe if we were...
I mean, we sold everything. We
Yeah.
took a very small container.
Yeah, we took a
Shipped
container.
very little furniture.
Most of the container was full of things that we knew we wouldn't be able to get there. So it wasn't personal items. We hardly took anything with us, and we just went. So now we had a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old by the time we actually got over there. It took us a little while. Again, there's a lot of this backstory we're glossing over. But yeah, we arrived in Morocco and immediately started studying Moroccan Arabic. كان تكلموا العربية مغربية.
Shwee. That's a little.
That's we speak Arabic, just a little.
Just a little.
But yeah, we learned Moroccan Arabic and lived there for 3 years and had the most incredible experience of our lives. I mean, Spain was amazing. It kind of broke us into this idea of living in a different country. Morocco was wild and crazy and chaotic.
It's like living in an Indiana Jones movie.
It really
all
was.
the time.
It really was.
The smells, the sights, the colors, the sounds, everything about it was just, everything was like amped up 20 times what
Yeah,
it
I
normally
think even
is.
like the bugs. I remember we would always say like even the ants are bigger here. Like
The
everything is
vegetables
larger
tasted
than life.
better, the music,
Yeah.
everything was just big and
Yeah,
loud.
yeah, it was incredible. And we were doing projects like helping with wells, going into areas where they didn't have clean drinking water. We were helping with solar hammam projects so that people could have running water to bathe. And
That's when we had our Landon too. Lots of exciting stuff happening. She had her first site, travelingmama.net.
that was when we really started to understand social media. It's when we got into everything, and you would start taking pictures for the blog. We literally, I mean, I was actually mad at you for starting that blog. I was like, oh, what am I gonna do with this thing? I'm trying to raise kids
She
here.
said, no one's gonna read a blog.
Yeah. So we just thought it'd be a really fun way to stay connected to our families. So I never took it very seriously. I just posted pictures here and there, some of the arts and crafts things that we were working on. And it was just, I loved it. I loved being able to connect. It was the first time I realized I could connect with the entire world. People were writing in from all the way from Australia to, you know, the US and everywhere in between. And it was really, really cool. I just always felt like home was this place. Like all the craziness that happened, all the travel that was happening. I mean, all these stories, all these years are passing in this timeline that we're telling you, and we traveled all over the place in the middle of it. And I just always needed a home to come back to. But we realized really early on that having a home was what kept us wherever we were. So it was a really hard decision for us, but you got a job offer to help with nonprofit work, to be more of a consultant kind of role, and to be working out of Copenhagen.
Yeah.
So you talk about a change.
Yeah, we flew to
Oh my
Copenhagen and it was
goodness.
just like,
So we went from so much heat and chaos to cold and pure serenity.
yeah, structured. There was a line. You
For
stayed in it.
everything. Everything. There's
Everything
a rule for
was-
everything.
Everything had a rule.
Yeah.
And so it was polar opposite. But as soon as we went,
Yeah.
we really loved Spain. We really loved Morocco. But as soon as we landed in Copenhagen, it was like, oh my gosh, this
It
is,
was-
there's heaven on earth. This
I
is
said
it.
that. I said that so many times while we were there. We lived there for 6 years. A lot of stuff that we're kind of glossing over to keep this a little bit kind of short and sweet for you today. But basically, we ended up we were in Copenhagen. Landon was 2, Parker was 5, and Haley was 9 when we moved there. And so for the boys especially, that's their whole world. That's all their memories were all in Denmark. We always put our kids in national schools. So our kids learned not only the oral dialect that we spoke of Arabic, they also learned the written Arabic and French. And when we got to Denmark, they studied in Danish. They never studied in an English speaking school or even an English speaking classroom.
The guard found us.
All of them. in
I
Danish.
asked our kids one time what language they dreamt in, and they all said when we were in Denmark, they dreamt and they thought and they counted in Danish. And we were like, whoa, that's so
I can't even do those things when I'm
I
awake.
can't even do it when I'm awake.
Which less in my dreams.
Yeah. So the only time that we ever spoke to them, the only time they ever really heard English actually was when we were at home. That's the only English that they ever had. And our time in Copenhagen, wow, it was life-altering for us.
Yeah, honestly, we could do an entire video
We could
just
do-
on what we learned from Denmark. Because
Maybe we will. Maybe we'll do that video one day for you because
its impact has been profound. It's changed our design
Yes.
aesthetics, your design aesthetics. It's changed a
I
thousand
didn't even
different
own
things.
a black shirt before we moved to Denmark.
No,
you guys.
we showed up in the wrong color palette. So we did, and we learned so much. Our minds about creativity and being brave, and just a million different. Gosh, the impact has been substantial in our life.
We loved it. We really did. It was like heaven on earth. I would say that so often. I don't have to die to go to heaven because I've already found it. I mean, truly just an inexpressibly beautiful, lovely place to live and to raise our kids, and riding our bikes everywhere, and the healthy eating habits, like everything about it. It revolutionized our lives. And so when it was time for us to move back, there's a few different reasons why we did. One of the reasons was it's very expensive to live in Denmark, and there were talks that maybe we might be sent back to the Arab world potentially, or some other location. And we just felt like with Haley at that point, she was 15, trying to send a 15-year-old and ask her to, it's ironic, to cover her face.
Yeah.
And
How crazy.
I know. So we didn't want to take away all of her freedom and go back somewhere that would be even more closed than Morocco. That was pretty open. It was pretty Western. And the places that we were talking about would not be. We had spent all these years, from the time we left, we had this 10-month-old, we had lived some of the most epic stories with our kids.
Well, hey guys, we are in. Where are we at, guys?
Greece.
And guess what? We wish you were here with us.
At times, I think that we thought that this was the end of our adventures. We were gonna hang up our hats and it was gonna all be over. But what I love most about us is that we see adventure everywhere, and that we really believe that every day it can be a magical adventure. And this next phase of our life was gonna be different, but it was also gonna be something that we had been dreaming of for years. And for the kids, it was like coming to a foreign country to come back to the US. They visited here and there, but this was not their home.
No, anytime we'd go out, Lana would say, because he's the little guy, Lana would say, Dad, what is Taco Bell?
What's Arby's?
Yeah, like he had no idea. He's like, Costco, what is a Costco?
Parker didn't think that Minnesota was a real state.
No.
So that's kind of catching you up. So we restarted all of our businesses. Jack works in marketing and business development. Obviously, you guys know I work in real estate and design. We have a blast, don't we? I mean, our dream is to take all of this now. Like, we're getting to the point now. By the way, Haley just graduated from high school. The kids are being schooled online now. So we suddenly find ourselves with some freedom, and we don't know what's gonna happen. We are dreaming bigger than ever before. We thought that 12 years abroad was big. The things that we're dreaming of now are even bigger. And they're things that we can include you guys on. I think that's what gets us more excited than anything else in the world, is that we have you guys. You are our tribe. And we don't have to go by ourselves. We did all those adventures alone. We were isolated, it was hard, and now we can do so much more with you guys, and we want you to be a part of that. So you're literally a part of the daydream of what we want for the future. We daydream about House of Valentina Airbnbs that you guys can go and stay at, meetups, being able to come to your cities, your countries, and being able to do room makeovers and house makeovers.
And show you the places that we love to go, the places
Yeah.
we love to eat, the places we love to stay or visit, and showing us just as we go learn these things and letting you share that with us, and maybe even on some of these you join with us.
Wouldn't that be just the most amazing thing ever? Thank you so much for being a part of our lives in this journey that we've been on, and we would love to hear from you. So I know we're getting to the end, right? This is where we say, oh yeah, hit subscribe. We really want you to hit subscribe if you want to hear about more that's coming in the future. We want you to give us a thumbs up, but more than anything, write us a comment down below. Let us know. Let us know what are the things we've kind of mentioned throughout the video. Hey, would you like this? Would you like that? Would you like to know 5 things we learned from living in Morocco? That kind of stuff, let us know down below. Thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you guys.
And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So cold all over myself.
Oh, I got you wet.
Eres perfecta mujer, de la cabeza a los pies.
I got it all over my face now.
Fogging up.
Tú tienes el
I can't believe the coffee comes down. Oh my god.
más que un origami.
I'm not really sure that some of the backstory is going so well.
It's exciting.
I know, it is exciting.
I know.
I know. It is a little weird. It's like, oh, we still have businesses to run and, you know, we are adults. But...
I know, but you're still that same person who like took my breath away.
Oh.
You're looking at
Trying
me.
to butter me up?
Looking at me, my glasses
Your
fogging up.
glasses really are fogging up. Oh my gosh.
Reminds me of France.
Oh, please.